Welcome to the SuperCharged video show, where I interview interesting and inspiring people right inside the Tesla.
Okay, so we're leaving the parking lot of the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church. It's the church that Dr. King preached at. It's also the church where his mother was actually killed. It's a very symbolic place and sacred place to, many people, beyond just those who worked in the civil rights movement, but people who have been touched by the legacy that Dr. King left us.
Sure.
My father, Leon Hall, was the youngest member of his staff and worked with him from 1963 to 1968. Across the street is the new sanctuary where regular worship occurs, and also the National Historic Site for the King Center. Earlier today, at about 3 o'clock, we worked in unison with the family of Julian Bond to place a symbolic set of flowers in the reflecting pool at the King Center to honor his legacy. He passed away. He was 75 years old. He was the founder of SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, as well as was the leader of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Here to our right is the Dr. King's birth home, and I live in this neighborhood with my wife Natalie, who's in the back seat. This is very rare that she would be in the back seat when I'm driving. Well, I guess it's probably common because she's in the back seat, but she's going to tell us where we're going for sure, right? Where are we going, baby? Somewhere fun. So we're heading east on Auburn Avenue through the Martin Luther King Historic District. It's an area that we really take a lot of pride and joy in. We moved to the neighborhood in 1999. Bought a house and raised our family here, our 2 sons, and it's been really a beautiful place to kind of see evolution happen in the community. It has, to some degree, gentrified heavily, but in other ways, we've still been able to maintain the historic character, preserve the legacy of Dr. King, and now we're looking at a new era of affordability because the organization that was founded by Coretta Scott King, Dr. King's wife, is called the Historic District Development Corporation, and it basically led the effort to revitalize all of the homes that you see in this district.
Right.
In the either they're historic homes that were renovated or they are new homes that were built in the old way. To our right was Studioplex, which was an adaptive reuse of a cotton compress plant. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll turn it here just so people can see it.
Sure.
Really cool restaurant, Spice to Table, Surplus. We've got all kinds of great things happening in this 100,000 square foot building that has live, work, and retail components to it. And directly across from us is the Water Tower, which is one of the iconic architectural structures. It's a 100-year-old water tower that was used at this building. The Studioplex used to be a cotton compress plant, so it was a place where cotton was baled up and compressed into square blocks, giant square blocks, almost half the size of the car.
Really?
And they would be shipped off to all parts of the world. But the water tower was used to suppress fire if it ever arose. Places. To your left here is the Beltline, which is a 22-mile abandoned rail corridor. We've taken about 2.5 miles here and converted it to a walking trail. Ultimately, it will be a streetcar transit route, but currently people use it. We ride our bikes on it, we walk your dogs, jog, and there's a whole slew of nice restaurants and cafes and shops that we have brought to the community along this abandoned rail corridor. And we hope that it will connect neighborhoods in our city.
Oh, yeah. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, because then people naturally bike and jog through, and they pass through multiple neighborhoods at the same time. It's
yes.
Fantastic.
So it kind of connects people up. And we're riding through historic Emmett Park, which is another historic district in my council district. I've been elected for 13 years, 2 years on the school board, and 11 on city council. When I started, I had hair, and now you see where I am. But, it's a great thing to see change happen before your eyes, positive change in the community. We're still trying to figure out how to do our crosswalks here. Folks don't quite know how to cross the street in Atlanta. I don't know if that's everywhere, but it's kind of weird here.
Yeah.
I know partially we don't have a classic grid in our city, so the crosswalks don't quite work in the normal way. and our streets don't go straight and perpendicular. But still, I think we've got to figure a strategy. And I'm thinking, wonder, like, this is a really awkward and interesting intersection. Maybe we do something like their symbol is a butterfly. Maybe we place a giant set of butterflies where you would historically walk in a crosswalk. So that denotes place, and it kind of forces drivers to slow down and pay attention a little more because they want to see what's on the street. Yeah. Maybe the pedestrians will walk it. You know, it's, you know, kind of changes the tenor. Sometimes they, in other cities I've seen paintings like that. We're doing a rainbow crosswalk in one of our neighborhoods that's been historically LGBT friendly and supportive and has a large gay community in it. But, you know, you can do anything that's creative.
Well, it's almost an art component to it as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Now, just to our right, and we'll swing up here real quick, is the Carter Center, which is named for President Carter, Presidential Library and Center. And it also is a great asset to have here in the city. I'm going to let my wife see how fast it goes. Whoa! This is nice. She doesn't need to be driving this. I don't know if I should have done that.
And I don't even know if you really stepped on it.
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I didn't. What? I think we're going to have to see how this thing feels. Oh my goodness. I just kind of tapped it. That was some force.
But
like,
it was so smooth though.
Yeah, man. I think now I see why everybody likes a Tesla. Wow.
And it's so quiet.
This is revolutionary.
What? Oh my God. Okay, you don't know how to do this though. Are you scared of me?
You're scared. Nice. I need
like
this
an
car.
Airplane.
I need this.
know, right?
I need this.
Did it not feel like an airplane?
Yes.
And guess what?
Down here.
I've gone to the Carter Center since President Carter's going through.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to circle around. We got to go see that.
Sure.
It's very symbolic.
Yeah.
We're in the Carter Presidential Center and Library, which are both all around here. Wow. Well, so we're really excited about the positive change that's happening in our city. Absolutely. But there are always things that you're faced with that you have to do better.
Sure.
Of course, you have to keep a watchful eye on safety, and making sure streets and sidewalks work and all that. But I think the big thing for us as we grow is to focus on affordability and figuring out how we can provide more a broader range of transportation options. And for sure, if we can add electric vehicles to it in a more robust way, that's something we would embrace here as well. But our city's really growing. We're looking also at tiny houses. So this is historic Fourth Ward Park. It's a 15-acre park that it was all industrial land, and we tore down the buildings, designed the park, and
it flooded.
And it used to flood over here, so we created an adaptive reuse of the flood and the flood zone and turned it into what you'll see here on my right as we pull up. What usually would be a detention pond, we made it into a lake. And folks said we couldn't quite make the park, so we said, can we just have a detention pond with green space around it? And see how beautiful it is.
Wow, that's really pretty.
There's 2 waterfalls too.
Yeah. Very cool. So how long did it take to develop this whole area?
Well, it's been developing over the last, I'd say, 5 years.
Okay.
But that is the largest building in the southeast.
Is it really?
2 million square feet. 2 million square feet. Industrial site that was a former Sears Roebuck building.
Okay.
That now has become an adaptive reuse, and it has housing and offices, retail, super cool restaurants. It's a really nice place. It's called Pond City Market.
Fantastic.
And of course, the Beltline that I mentioned, people are walking up to the trail there. And it takes you about 2 miles from our home back there where we started up to Piedmont Park, which is the Atlanta's and the Southeast's largest park.
Oh, wow. So is there a specific, pet project that you're excited about that you're working on?
Well, that was the last one, the Fourth Ward Park, biggest one that we're converting more housing around here. But I think one thing we've been working on is an initiative called the Year of Boulevard. and we'll ride down Boulevard on our way back. It's the area with the greatest concentration of poverty in the southeast United States. Let me just mention, on the right-hand side, we have Masquerade, which is an iconic facility that has housed almost every cool band and artist that you can think of, from metal, gothic to hip-hop and rap. Every artist has performed there.
Right.
And it's a place that we're really proud of, but unfortunately the owners have looked at selling it, and they're developers who want to bring condos. So we're kind of disappointed about that now, because when you have those types of uses in the city, you really need to figure out how you preserve them, because they've given so many phenomenal world-class artists their first break.
Sure.
Getting a chance to perform there. So,
well, and just the unique character it brings, you know. It's, yeah.
So we're trying to figure that out. But the Year of Boulevard, which is the initiative we founded to address the challenges that the families were dealing with in the Boulevard corridor in a neighborhood called Bedford Pines. It's 700 families, 3,000 people. There are only 25 male head of households in the entire community. There are about 62 senior citizens, and roughly 65% of the head of households are young, primarily African American women, 18 to 25 years old. So the demographics are really staggering when you look at what challenges people are facing. It starts basically here and takes up 65% of the land over here. And it is, you know, we didn't know the numbers for $3,000 a year in income, not $3,000 a month. That $3,000 a year, and that the rent was $12 a month. So this is privately owned Section 8. It's owned by the Schuster family. They're out of Boston. Wingate Management is the name of the company, and it's kind of the place of last resort. If you don't have anywhere else to go, it's a place where you can get public assistance to live in, Section 8 vouchers. And so what we began to address is, how can we help the families and children own their own future and lift themselves out of this abject poverty?
Sure.
But you have to have a game plan. You have to have a strategy. You have to have support to be able to come out of this kind of situation. For instance, for many of the young mothers, their income, if it increases, causes an immediate increase in their rent.
So they want some motivation, right?
There's not, and usually if you're in the situation that most of them are in, you don't have the work skills or the work training or education to be able to get a job that pays enough for you to be able to afford $200 or $500 a month in rent.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
So the odds are many stay exactly where they are. They may be able to do side things to generate additional income, but not at the level that affords them the opportunity to get all the way out of kind of this black hole that holds people down. The gravitational pull of the community. So we're trying to empower the families and children to own their future, to have supportive measures that give every child a summer of possibility. So every child gets summer camp, Saturday programs, as well as after-school programs to give them, the opportunities that I think you and I had. If you didn't have that supportive structure around you, you really would not turn out like you turn out. Even with the supportive structure,
right.
You don't turn out right.
It's hard enough.
It's hard. Yeah, man. So, imagine for kids who don't even have that. Their parents aren't making it mandatory that they go to not just one camp, but usually kids go to 3 or 4 different camps with all kinds of experiences, and you get to travel. And even if it's just traveling in the backseat of your aunt's car for a few days in the summer or a week, you get to kind of expose yourself and grow differently. That doesn't happen with many of the children in the Bedford Pines community, and that's what we're trying to change. And we've been working very diligently to do it. But one of the other ironies is that it's just about a few hundred yards. These same 700 families live a few hundred yards from where Dr. King was born, where he worshiped, where he worked, and where he and his wife are now buried.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, how does this exist? Yeah. How do we live in a place? How does America, we're driving in a Tesla, a $70,000 car, and there are folks who live in Bedford Pines who could only dream of making $5,000 a year. So that's one of those challenges that really, I'm still grappling with, and I think we all owe it to ourselves, owe it to our community to figure out how we do something to empower families and children who, whether they live here in Bedford Pines or in other communities around the nation and really around the world. When I traveled around the world, many times when I go to favelas in Brazil or I go to impoverished communities in other countries, the income and the statistics are pretty much the same as right here on Boulevard. So we've just driven from that end of the Boulevard, and we're right here at the King Center where we started.
Yeah, wow.
And you see all of that, in some cases excess. I'm not saying this particular car is excess, but it could be perceived as that in some cases. But it's energy efficient, so there's a savings that one who owns this gets to benefit from. But in other cases, people don't have access to opportunities to ever be able to own this. I got a new car today too.
Look at everybody looking like, what?
My brother said, finally. I needed that car. I only get it for a day. I guess I'm going to turn into a pumpkin. Let me see. I'll give you a ride anytime. But I think it turns back into an old chariot in less than 30 minutes. Thank you so much. It's been fun.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for giving me some great background and history and all the good stuff you're doing here.
Definitely, anytime. Natalie, I guess we need to go and test drive a Tesla or something. Is that what you're telling me already?